Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about dynamic routing in Django. Dynamic route simply means creating a page on the go. For example, when you have multiple items on your web browser, let's say you have a product catalog or a blog post, you can't possibly create pages for each of them. So what we normally do is to create a page for each item when you click on the item. Okay, for example, I have a simple page here created for me that I have created, and on this page you can see that when I click on an item, it will create a page for it. Alright, then let me go and click on another item, and you see here it also creates a specific page for it. In the browser you can see in the web address a number here 9, which is the ID of this particular item, and you can see the page is post detail. Now you cannot possibly create pages for each of these items. Let's say we have a ton of these items. We have 100 of these items, or we have 1,000 of them. mm, or we have 1,000 of them. We can't create pages for each of them. So what we do, we use dynamic routing to achieve that. Now let's see how we can achieve this in our to create our dynamic route. We will first of all create a view function to handle that page. Now inside of our view.py file, I'm going to create a function, and I'll call it post underscore detail, and inside of this function I'll pass in the request object, and I'll pass in as a parameter the post ID. This is the ID with which we will render each specific post. Now we are going to use a dummy data. Okay, we are going to use a dummy data where we have dummy posts with their IDs and everything. So I created a dummy data about some items with that has ID, title, auto, body, and creation date. We are going to use this data to exemplify dynamic routing. Now um, inside of this page, we are going to return the render function, and inside of it we are going to pass in the request object, and we are going to render a page, and this is the page that will handle our specific post, and we call the page post underscore detail.html, and we pass in the post as a context dictionary, and the post. What this line of code means is that we should get each post by the index, and the index of any list in any language or in most programming languages starts counting from 0. But for our ID in our dummy data, the ID starts from 1, so we have to take 1 off to get the correct index. Otherwise, we get an index error. Since our ID starts counting from 1, post number 1 we have an index of 0. Post number 2 we have an index of 1. Post number 3 we have an index of 2. So that is the reason for the arithmetic here. And we are going to create the path for that page. To create the path, pay attention. This is what we are going to do. We are going to create a path, and we are going to give the name post underscore detail. So the page name should be post underscore detail, and forward slash we pass in um the identifier, which is the post underscore ID. We are going to be using the ID to locate each post, and this int here means integer, is the type, specifying the type of the variable here. If the variable we are using here is a string, we are going to use string here, str. If we are using a slug, we will have slug here, and the value of the slug, the name that we give to the slug. And we have our views of post underscore detail, which is the view function, and you can see the function we created, and we can access this page using the post underscore detail. Now we will have to go ahead and create the post underscore detail.html file. In the templates folder in the main, we create another template, which is the page that we are creating for each of the post items, and I call the page post underscore detail. And I have already created some content here, so you can go ahead and create your content. So we created a div element here and applied some minimal styling, and render the h1 tag here that will render the post title, the post body, the author, and the creation time. Then here we have a h1 tag. We have anchor tag that points back to the home page. I'm going to be explaining in a bit. Let's go back to our views function. We saw that in our view function, we are putting out this post item. It is from this post item that we are rendering this information, because this information is available here because in our views.py file we passed it in. All right, let's go to our home page from where we'll be linking this page. So in our home page, we are going to create a for loop, and we are going to loop through the contents. So let's go into our view.py file. In our view.py file, we will pass in a context. We will make this post available. We will have we make this post available by creating a context dictionary. We created a context here and passed in the variable name as post and set it equal to the post that we created here, our arbitrary data. And we made it available by passing in this variable context inside of this render function. So this can be available in our home page. Now in our home page, we are simply going to create a for loop, and we will render these items. I have it created here. I commented it out to explain. So I am going to put this for loop in here. In Django, when you want to create a for loop or any loop or tags, we use the curly brace percent symbol. We open the curly brace percent symbol and we close it back. Alright, this will enable you to run Python code inside of your template. And for variables, we use double curly braces. Now, inside of this one, we have created a for loop, and we are looping to the posts that we passed in our view function for this home page. And we are saying for posts, in post, we create an anchor tag that will link to each post, and inside of this anchor tag we pass in the URL keyword, which specifies that this is a URL route in normal in the normal HTML, when you create an anchor tag, you are going to pass in the URL that this tag should point to. So in Django, we use the template tag. We use this tag, the curly braces, we add the percent symbol, and we are going to say URL, and then in strings, you pass in the name of the URL as a string, and if it's a dynamic data, you pass in the ID or whatever you are using to identify that item. So I'm going to take this off. That is exactly what we did here. So we are saying this is a URL, and the URL name is post underscore ID, and we should get each page by the ID. This ID is contained in each post item. So we created another div, and inside of this div we are just rendering the title, then the body, then the author, and the creation time. So let me go ahead and save this. Then if we go to, let's go to our urls.py file, we have this all set, so we should be able to view this in our browser. So let me go back to our home page and have this refreshed. Now home page, these are the data that we are rendering. Now when you click on this data, whichever one you click on, it will create a page specific for each of the items. If you have questions, go ahead and drop it in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video.